Picture your oldest memory. Maybe it's your first day of school, a birthday party, the time you got lost somewhere as a kid. Now ask yourself one question. What if it never happened? The human mind doesn't work like a video recording. It works more like a story, one your brain keeps rewriting every single time you tell it. And if a story can be rewritten, it can be rewritten by someone else. In the 1990s, Elizabeth Loftus had an idea that was almost cruel in its simplicity. She and her team contacted families of volunteers and collected real childhood stories, a vacation, a birthday, a trip to the park. Then they slipped in one fake one. The volunteer, they said, had gotten lost in a shopping mall as a small child, crying, frightened, eventually rescued by an elderly stranger and reunited with their family. But it never happened. Every detail was invented. Researchers sat the participants down and asked them to recall each story, the real ones and the fake one, across multiple sessions. At first, almost no one remembered being lost. That's what should have ended it. But session by session, the fake memory started to grow. People began describing the layout of the store, the exact wave of panic in their chest, what the stranger who saved them looked like, the relief of seeing their mother's face again. By the end of the study, roughly 1 in 4 participants were fully convinced the event had happened, and some of them, when finally told the memory was fake, refused to believe it. Their brain hadn't just accepted the memory, it had built one, and it felt exactly like the real thing. The Lost in the Mall study wasn't a one-time fluke. In later experiments, researchers planted memories of people being attacked by an animal as a child, almost drowning and being saved by a lifeguard, spilling punch on a bride's dress at a wedding they never attended. In one version of the study, participants were shown a fake advertisement for Disneyland featuring Bugs Bunny. Some of them later remembered meeting Bugs Bunny on their childhood trip, shaking his hand, hugging him, maybe even getting a photo. But wait. Bugs Bunny is a Warner Brothers character. He has never been allowed inside Disneyland. This didn't matter. The memory came with feeling attached, like the heat of the sun that day, the texture of the costume, the excitement of meeting a cartoon character in real life. None of it had ever existed outside their own mind. These weren't vague impressions. They came with color, texture, emotion, physical sensation. Everything we instinctively use to separate a real memory from imagination, and none of it worked. The brain wasn't lying to researchers, it was lying to itself. Memory isn't stored the way a hard drive stores a file. Every time you remember something, your brain doesn't retrieve it, it rebuilds it from fragments. Like reconstructing a crime scene from scattered evidence. And every reconstruction is a chance for something to go wrong. A photograph you saw later can fuse into the memory. A detail someone else mentioned can quietly slide in and take a seat, like it was always there. A small suggestion, repeated enough times by someone you trust, can become the foundation the entire memory is rebuilt on. This is called the misinformation effect. And once it happens, there's no internal alarm that goes off. The false memory gets filed away using the exact same biological process as a real one. Which means, neurologically speaking, there is no difference between something that happened to you and something you were only convinced happened to you. For most of legal history, eyewitness testimony has been treated as one of the most powerful forms of evidence a courtroom can hear. A person looks the jury in the eye and says, "I remember his face. I will never forget it." In 1984, a 22-year-old woman named Jennifer Thompson was assaulted in her apartment in North Carolina. She made a deliberate decision. She looked carefully at her attacker's face, committed it to memory, told herself she would identify him no matter what. Days later, she picked Ronald Cotton out of a photo lineup, then a physical lineup. Then, in court, she pointed at him and said she was certain, not fairly sure, certain. Ronald Cotton was sentenced to life in prison. 11 years later, DNA testing proved he was innocent. The actual attacker was a man named Bobby Poole, who was already incarcerated for similar crimes. He was the real perpetrator. Jennifer Thompson's memory hadn't lied to her on purpose, but somewhere between the assault and the courtroom, her mind had reconstructed the wrong face into the most certain memory of her life.
A witness can be completely sincere, completely convinced, and completely wrong. That single discovery has since been used to help exonerate hundreds of wrongfully convicted people, many of whom were imprisoned almost entirely on the word of a witness who would have sworn under oath that they remembered correctly. They weren't lying. They were remembering a memory their own brain had quietly rebuilt. Everyone already accepts that memory fades, that details blur, that we forget things. A false memory doesn't arrive feeling false. It doesn't come with static or a warning or a flicker telling you it's fake. It feels exactly as real as your happiest moment. Which means somewhere, right now, inside your own mind, there may already be a memory you trust completely. One you'd swear happened exactly the way you remember it. But ask yourself, how can you know for sure that it actually happened?